Diane, can you please let us know the city officials are with us this evening?
Mayor County Councilor Perry.
Good evening.
Safety Service Director Barbara Sylvester.
Present.
Law Director Justin Richard.
Present.
Assistant Law Director Edmund Mack.
Present.
Chief Counsel Tim Pirro.
Present.
Economic Development Director David Maley.
Present.
Parks and Rec Director Steve Pedro.
Present.
Is there anyone from administration I might have missed? That's it, President Pro Tem.
All right, let the record show that the President of Council is also with us. Councilman Sluice is absent and Ward 2 is vacant. Before we get started, I was wondering if I could put the law director on the spot. And would you like to introduce us to your new colleague?
I have the pleasure of introducing Tim Pirro. He previously worked 15 years?
15 years.
15 years with the Portage County Prosecutor's Office. He's got expertise in environmental science, is that fair to say? And most civil legal matters. So everyone, Tim Pirro.
Nice to meet you.
All right, community development.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have one item that falls under old business. It is the rezoning of parcel 604597, which is located at 56 Big Street Southeast. The zone request is from R1, one-family residential, to RM-1, multiple-family residential. The first purpose of the rezoning is to allow for rental units and office. We have a public hearing scheduled for October 17th at 6 p.m. here at Council Chambers. Does anyone have any additional questions regarding this zoning request? Okay, seeing none. Business and community development. Thank you.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Yes.
Just wanted to give you a heads up that notice of hearing will be in the paper the 15th of September.
Thank you, Diane.
Economic development.
Nothing this evening.
Health and welfare.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. We have one item to prepare an ordinance for HVAC systems upgrades through Massillon municipal buildings. Could somebody from the city come up and explain this?
Good evening, everyone. This is actually a request for legislation to be able to go out to bid, to receive the request for qualifications to do the design for all of the HVAC systems in our city hall buildings here, which would include the heating and cooling systems in our police department, in this building, and in the administrative building. So there was the date goes back to last year that we did hire a mechanical engineer to come in and do a complete study of the systems, just so we would know at that time where we stood with the systems. We wanted to find out if there were any maintenance, repairs, and so forth that they could see that needed to be done immediately at that time. You know, we do know that we have, aging systems here. We were trying to do everything we could for the efficiency and comfort of everyone in the buildings. So at that time, they did give us some recommendations to make. We did make all of the maintenance, repairs, and suggestions they gave to us. But in their study then, under their final scope of the work and recommendations, is that almost all of the HVAC equipment and temperature controls has reached the end of its economic life, and it's all due for replacement. And so again, it's a mechanical engineer. It's not a firm that sells systems or anything of that nature. So it wasn't anybody that could come in and do a marketing to us, but we just wanted someone to evaluate the system. At that time, they gave us an estimate between $800,000 and $1.2 million. So as this council knows, we did put that on our listing of an expenditure for the ARPA funds. We put 1.2 million on there. But at this particular time, we need to have someone come in and do a design for us. So that's what this request is for, to have someone come in and do the design for us. The cost not to exceed $150,000. Generally speaking, the design cost on the various projects is we usually estimate about 10%. So 150,000 is a little bit higher than the 10% of 1.2, but you know, where costs are right now and people are short-staffed, we're not really sure where the price may come in, but you know, definitely not to exceed over that. And that way, once we have the design, once we select a firm and we have a design, then we will come back to council to go out to bid for the actual project then.
Thank you. This isn't in any way involving the server room over at the Getz building, is it?
It is not. The Getz building has its own separate system right now. We do have a preventative maintenance program with quality heating. We also, as you know, with the CARES Act money, we did put the air scrubbers on all of our systems in that building as well. And we just had them in that building just a couple of weeks ago to do the preventative maintenance, and everything is current in that building. I will say, though, that I do want to thank you, Councilperson Lombardi, for making the suggestion of our server room in there. We actually, this Thursday, the 15th, we actually are going to be putting a room air conditioning unit in that room for our servers. So Mr. Lombardi was in the building. He realized that it was a bit warm in the server room, so then that some of the rest of us, I mean, we don't go in that room that often, but we didn't realize that. So it will be, you know, standalone, separate from the other unit, because as you suggested, if the other unit is down, that room would get really warm in there. But everything in the Getz building, the heating and cooling system, is all in good condition. This is all of the other buildings here where we have the boilers and the chillers.
Okay. Any questions from committee? Any other questions from members of council? Ms. Green?
Can you tell me the age of the current system?
I cannot. You know, a lot of pieces and parts have been replaced. You know, the boilers, maybe one of the boilers has been replaced. A chiller maybe has been replaced over time. So I would say there's probably all different dates on different pieces of equipment throughout these buildings.
So are we looking at, do these three buildings have three separate units, or is there one unit that oversees?
It's a whole different system. It's a boiler system that uses a
So
chiller, and yeah, it's not like
So one
it's
system.
not like a unit in a residential or in a smaller type building.
So it's one
It's chillers.
system that funnels hot heat and cool air to these three buildings.
Yes, each building's boilers and chillers are separate, and separate systems. There's not, you know, of course, the buildings aren't connected, so they have their own
So we
separate.
have three units then. So
Three systems, we'll call them systems.
systems,
Yeah,
three
because they're not
systems,
units.
one per building.
Per building.
Okay, just so I kind of get a better understanding of what we're dealing with. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Ms. Dyson?
Will we be able to control our own heat in here?
Yes, and that's what he says in here, that even the temperature control systems are outdated. So yes, that would definitely be a part of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Krieger?
So the mechanical engineer has evaluated these systems currently and stated they're at the end of life. So dependent on the process of this design and until we purchase these systems, are the systems bad? Are they, is he able to manage and keep them up and going? We're going into winter soon. So are we going to find ourselves without heat or without a cooling system in the next few weeks?
Now, as I said at the beginning, we did have to make recommendations if there was anything that we could do that would be fixes that, again, would be, you know, cost effective. We don't want to invest a lot of money into systems, that are outdated. So we did make all of those changes and corrections right now. So everything is operational. There is not anything that is not operating at this time. It's just, as he said, everything has reached its full economic life. So it's just not efficient anymore. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mrs. Sylvester.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Mr. Lewis.
Parks and Rec.
We have no legislation for Parks and Rec tonight, but just an update from the Parks and Rec meeting last week. They were informed today after we were informed of the change for the splash pad for 2 Walker Park, and they approved it. They voted 4-5. They were all for it. There was 1 no vote. And I talked to him afterwards, and it was just that he had heard Walker Park for the first time, which we had all. And he said that he supported the splash pad, but he voted no because he just felt like the public, nobody had notice of it. I don't know if anyone else has any. They've been working hard. They've been cleaning, painting, fixing things. The few people that had issues with the parks at the last meeting, that was brought up, and it was already being taken care of. So if anyone had further questions, Steve Pedro is here. Did you want to make an update on anything, Steve?
I don't really have anything to update on that.
Okay.
If you want to ask me any other questions, I don't know, that's up to you.
I think we're okay. I mean, as far as the kiddie pool, that's going to be open soon.
I'll come on for a second.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
All the construction is, well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. All the construction is done. We're just waiting on the state to finalize their inspections for the kiddie pool, which I thought it'd be done, but it could take about a week or so. But everything's done, so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody, do you have any questions? That's all for Parks and Rec.
Police and Fire.
Nothing for police and fire tonight, Mr. Lewis.
Public Utilities. Nothing for Public Utilities. Rules and Courts.
Nothing for rules and courts.
Streets and Highways.
I have 1 item. This request is to prepare legislation to authorize the Director of Public Service and Safety to sign the consent legislation with ODOT for the annual municipal bridge inspection program, PID 117554. This program, the services include, but not limited to, routine inspections, element level inspections, critical findings report, fracture critical member inspections, load rating calculations and reports, weight limits, posting, sign recommendations, scour assessments, scour plan of actions, development of fracture critical plans, and underwater dive inspection reports. So would someone from administration please come forward and tell us a little bit about this request in front of us? Thank you. Mayor Kathy Kaiser.
Good evening, members of council. This is a free program that happens approximately every 2 years. It may be moved to 3 years. We're waiting to hear. This is a standard procedure. They do this every 2 years. They just assess all the bridges in the city.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this? You answered both of my questions. That was really good. So all the bridges, and then if there's any repairs, then the city's responsible for making those repairs.
Some repairs. The Cherry Road, it's a county bridge. That is going to be repaired by the county. And that was in Congressman Gibbs' plan, if you recall. We went back, we announced it probably January, maybe even last year. We're still waiting on, I know they're in design, so we're waiting on construction.
And there is emergency language as requested by ODOT to expedite the bridge inspection project and to promote public safety.
Correct.
Anyone have any other questions? All right, thank you so much. That's all I have for streets and highways. Thank you.
All right, finance. The first piece we have is please prepare an ordinance appropriating from the funds appropriate funds from the CDBG funding for following activities for the program year 2022. Do we have anyone that wants to speak to this quickly? Yeah, I mean, I just case from I believe this is just an appropriation of the already approved budget that we did earlier in the year. Does anybody have any questions regarding this appropriation? All right, is that everyone? Transfers, before we get to old. Our first transfer is Legends, reduction in capital improvement by $6,000 put into sales tax. And this is to realign the budget to pay for sales tax through the end of the year. We do have Mr. Pedro here if anyone has any questions. Okay. Another one in Parks and Rec, reduction in service and contracts by $4,441.49, placing it into insurance to realign the budget to pay through the end of the year. Anybody have any questions? Miscellaneous accounts, reduction in transfers, advance out $9,810 for the insurance to realign the budget to pay pet insurance. Questions? Police Department, reduction in supplies and materials posted by $30,000, putting in for service and contracts. And this is to realign the budget to have sufficient funds for expenses related to the services and contracts. Anyone want to expand on that for us? Pretty big for $30,000.
The services and contracts line for the police department, one of the largest items that's in there that's been a larger expense this year that we weren't aware of until we got into the year, and that is the assessments for the promotional testings for the captains and the lieutenants is in there. So that was $11,000 for those. So that's one of the largest items in there. One of the other larger items in there that we've had this year so far has been the cruisers, some of the maintenance. We did a lot of replacement of tires and so forth, keeping the vehicles in good operations and standings. So those are the two of the biggest items that are in there basically for this year. Also a new copier with a new lease and maintenance on that too.
Questions? Thank you. Wastewater Department, plant services, reduction $3,233.42, placing it in insurance. Legends, reduction in capital improvement by $9,000, put in the food and beverage supply. This is to pay for food and beverage supplies through the end of the year. Any questions? Municipal court, reduction of their muni court salary by $40,000 for $40,497.02, and placing it into a vehicle purchase, and then reduction in that same muni court staff by $1,000, putting it into the salary for judges. And this, it just says to purchase vehicle for court bailiff to serve court notices. And then I'm assuming the salary just needs to be adjusted. It must have under budgeted. Any questions about the purchase of a new vehicle? And then the last one, again, Parks and Rec, reduction in salary recreation by $1,993, placing it into salary Park and Rec Director, $812, and salary Senior Center, $1,181. And this is the realigned 22 budget to pay for salaries through the end of the year. Any questions? All right. The other business I have is last week we gave first reading to the OPWC application this evening related to those. Mr. Lombardi.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I would like to know if the mayor could come up and just explain to us a little bit more about the scope of what this project is going to be.
Sure.
So I have great detail for you this evening, so you know what's actually happening. So this is our sheet. Your sheet does not have all my writing on it, but I'll start with the little shaded area as it goes around. That area will be repaved with this project. You'll see black arms that come across. Those are called the mast arms. Those will all be new, and I'll have new street lighting on those as far as stop, caution, and go lights. You'll also see that there is new ornamental lighting that will go in as well. And those are very, very small, but they're a little black dot beside trees, if you can see those. One of the reasons we have to get this in is that if this project does get funded, those lights are behind for several months. So we want to be able to get those. And there are, I'm going to go over this with you. So we have light signals, ADA ramps. There's several ADA ramps. Some new sidewalks, and the newest sidewalks, these trees will be new, but the sidewalk is already there, so that's not going to be replaced. The sidewalk down here is across from Walgreens. That will be replaced. That'll be new sidewalks. There's also going to be an ADA parking space right here. The ADA ramp is here on this corner. Also on this corner is an ADA ramp. And then there'll be 9 lights, 3 additional planters, 5 more trees, and 1 ADA parking space, plus the paving. That's the project. Do you have any further questions?
Ms. Harley-Smith?
Yeah, as far as like when you look between Lowell and First Street, and the other side of the street, the curve, or the ADA curve is just a rounded curve. Why do we have it like bumped out on the other ones? That always seems to be, everyone keeps hitting the curves that are bumped out now. I mean, because across the street, it's just a round curve with 1 ADA, and then when you go on, I guess it would be the south side, you got the curb bumping out to the road, which that makes it hard for the guys who are plowing the road. People are turning corners and hitting it all the time on the other curbs that we have like that now. Does that have to be that way, or can we keep it straight like the rest, where it's not sticking out in the road there?
I can check with our engineers. They designed this, the engineers, so it's to match the other part of the streetscape, but I will ask Greg if we can change that.
I will say, we do hear a lot about that, but we also know that the one benefit of having that, especially for people in wheelchairs or other handicap situations, is this places them out a little bit so they can see around vehicles. When they're can't, in fact, they can't. I mean, here, they're able to kind of see out more, so that's one advantage of having it.
The other advantage, thank you, Mr. Lewis, the other advantage is it's a shorter distance across a big street. So, and we do have a disability commission, and so we're meeting soon, next week, I believe. And so we're working with our disability commission to try to help us create a more friendlier environment for our special needs individuals.
Thank you.
Mr. Gregory? Mr. Lombardi?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I just wanted to clarify, the request for legislation is only a request to apply for the money. It is not to approve the project at this
Correct,
point.
just to apply.
Just to apply for the money.
Correct. This really does need finished though. When you look at the entire downtown, it looks great, and it's done everything we said it would do, bring more people downtown. People comment to me frequently about, seeing people at 5 o'clock and after walking around our city. They feel very comfortable walking around in Massillon. And so that's a huge positive for us, and that's what we wanted to happen. This, though, really needs to be finished so that everything looks the same all the way up. And then we also are looking for a few dollars to add another bench and another wastebasket on that area as well.
All right, thank you. So we have a second reading.